The town of Farmington. Respecting history, planning the future.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Town Council meeting and ask you to join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And there is no public hearing tonight. And we first have a proclamation tonight in honor of the people for September 11th. Bruce?
Hello, everyone. In recognition of the Farmington first responders, the Farmington Rotary will hold its first annual First Responders Appreciation Breakfast, and that's tomorrow, September 11th, at the Farmington Community Center. On 9/11, I asked my elderly mother, Rena, who lives with me, who's living at my childhood home, knowing that I was going to present this today, this proclamation, I asked her, what did she remember that day? She said to me, she imagined it could have been me in one of those buildings. She felt so grateful that the first responders who risked their lives to save those people and to bring those children back to their mothers. Rena now lives with me in my home in Farmington. Last year, my mother had a very bad fall, and she was badly injured. Our town, our first responders, handled the situation with skills and compassion, which is why I'm so grateful today to have this opportunity to be here to not only thank the first responders, but thank them for the community, but for my family as well. So thank you. Now I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas we reflect on the anniversary of the terrorist attack of September 11, 2001, we are reminded of the critical role first responders play in this recovery effort at Ground Zero and their effort in making our community safe and strong. And whereas the first responders are a vital public service, they are first and best defense against all emergencies that threaten our community. And whereas first responders are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, risking their own lives. Whereas first responders, including emergency physicians, nurses, medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, police officers, and public safety dispatchers, and whereas first responders, whatever career or volunteer, engage thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills in which they contribute to the public good. And whereas the Farmington Town Council is extremely appreciative of all the dedicated first responders in our community, now therefore the Farmington Town Council, in recognition of the anniversary of the terrorist attack, hereby proclaims September 11th, 2019 as First Responder Day in Farmington, Connecticut. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 11th day of September of 2019, Nancy Nickerson, Chair of the Town Council. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Bruce. And I would like to add, if anyone hasn't been down to New York to see the monument, and the walk through it and see it. You should go. I was fortunate enough to go with my husband, who's a Vietnam vet, and a bunch of veterans last year, and it's just magnificent, and it's wonderful to go through. They have earphones that you can listen to each piece, and they have people that were there that day talking about different things that happened in their experiences, and it's absolutely wonderful, and it just brings you right home to what we know and what we're so thankful for with the first responders and with everyone that just stepped in and helped one another. So it's really an amazing monument, and I would encourage everyone to go to see that as well. It's just wonderful. So, and we certainly are very thankful for all that was done from first responders and everyone who just stepped up that day. So, thank you. Okay. Mike, sorry. Mike D'Amico, our representative, has a citation as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be brief. I just want to echo your sentiments about the first responders in Farmington. There's no group that's more deserving of our gratitude. So without further ado, I'll read the citation. State of Connecticut, General Assembly, official citation introduced by Representative Mike D'Amico, Representative Tammy Exum, Senator Derek Slapp, and Senator Gennaro Bizzarro. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Farmington's first responders in recognition of your courage, bravery, dedication, and sacrifice on a daily basis in protecting the lives and property of the residents, institutions, and businesses of Farmington and Unionville. We commend you and we thank you for the vital public service that you provide. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. Given on this 11th day of September 2019 at the State Capitol in Hartford, and it's signed by Martin Looney, the President Pro Tem of the State Senate, Joe Arasimowicz, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and Denise Merrill, Secretary of the State of Connecticut. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, new items.
Yes, I move to add agenda item L30, an appointment to the Lower Farmington River and Salmon Brook Wilds Scenic Management Plan Committee.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I move to add agenda item L31, an appointment as an alternate to the Lower Farmington River Salmon Brook Wilds Scenic Management Plan Committee.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I move to add agenda item 02 to the agenda. Executive session to discuss manners concerning collecting bargaining agreements.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Okay.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask for any public comment. Please come up to the mic if you have a comment, and you have 5 minutes. And please give us your name and your address. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Reading of the minutes.
I move to approve the July 11th, 2019 Town Council meeting minutes.
Second.
Any corrections or changes to the minutes? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, no communications at this time. Report of the committees. First is Yukon, and we are going to be having a meeting, I believe it's September 27th, with the Yukon Committee. And Kathy?
I just wanted to let you know, Nancy, in the group, that I have had some correspondence with the community next door to Yukon, and they've been having some noise issues, and I have told them that our Yukon Committee will look into it when we meet at the end of the month.
Okay, great, thank you. Land Acquisition Committee.
Yes, land acquisition, we have an item on the agenda later tonight for the potential acquisition of 9485 Mountain Road for the council to vote on, and there are also some executive session matters to discuss. Our next meeting is this Thursday at 5 p.m. In Town Hall.
Okay, thank you. Green efforts.
Green Efforts met last week. Month is running together. The first item to note is that next Monday at 6:30 at the library, there's an event being co-sponsored by Green Efforts and the library regarding recycling. Are you doing it right? What's in, what's out? Any questions you may have about recycling in terms of what to do, how to do it, and the impact of what's being called National Sword, China's decision to stop taking recyclables, will be addressed. There's a speaker coming from DEEP who will be speaking to the public, as well as a member of the highway, Scott Zanke from the Highway Department will be there as well to address town questions. At our last meeting, we talked about what we're going to do for the rest of the year, as we've had some good successes already this year. We're planning on getting a second newsletter out before the holidays. We'll be talking about it next month at our meeting, and we'll also be discussing options for how to address or cut back on waste in schools and potentially some other waste reduction activities. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 1st at 6:30 in this room.
Okay, thank you. Farmington Village Center Committee.
Yes, we haven't met last month, and our next meeting is Thursday at 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Farmington High School Building Committee.
Yes, so we have a presentation
Yes.
coming tonight, so that'll be later in the agenda, but I wasn't sure it was going to cover a communications subcommittee, so I just had a little bit to update about that, or is it going to be full, and I don't...
I thought what we could do is maybe, if you guys wanted to maybe do a quick update, then we have Meg here, and then she was going to just give.
Oh,
a
right
quick
here?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then I'll be doing the part on the agenda item.
Okay. So maybe I could wait for Megan.
Okay,
If she doesn't cover anything that I have jotted down
Yeah.
here, we can...
great. Okay, yeah.
Hold on.
Thank you, Council, first of all, for having me here to speak with you tonight. I know you've had a lot of communication with our liaisons as far as our updates and what's been going on for progress for the committee, but we thought we'd take this opportunity to give you kind of an overall status of the project and any kind of outstanding discussions that we're having currently and next steps, if that makes sense at this time.
So first of all, I want to make sure everyone knows that you're chairman of the building.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, Megan Guerrera. I'm the chairman of the Farmington High School Building Committee.
Great, thanks.
All right. So the goal of the town council charge, as we understood it, was to develop a comprehensive solution to address the statement of needs as presented by the Farmington Board of Education. In order to execute against that charge, the building committee is aligned around the following guiding principles. So this is something we're aligning our decision-making back to at all times. So relying on competitive analysis of service and design, procuring critical information prior to milestone decisions, evaluating financial expenditures, and we're focusing on the benefit of the cost and not just the cost alone. So that's really a big part of our conversations. Establishing effective professional partnerships resulting in guidance by industry experts, and providing timely and transparent communication. So as I talk about this status tonight, you'll hear me refer back to those guiding principles throughout that conversation. So at this time, the building committee is focused on the conceptual options phase of the charge, which is leading us to provide conceptual options to town council so that a net municipal budget and scope can be set. Once the net municipal budget and scope is set, the building committee understands that it will be recharged to complete a schematic design to be reviewed prior to a referendum. The committee is structured to include 4 subcommittees, including site evaluation, communications, finance, and professional partnership. The role of the Site Evaluation Committee is to review any alternate site locations for a new building per Part 1, Section E of the Building Committee charge. So that's a very specific line item within our charge that we've addressed right at the beginning of the process. So the Site Evaluation Committee has thoroughly reviewed all possible alternative site locations within the town of Farmington at this time. A comprehensive document of the analysis is included on the town website and will be highlighted on the future Building Committee website. The only viable option after initial analysis was the site of Westwood's Golf Course, as you might have heard previously. After additional research and due diligence on this site, the Site Evaluation Subcommittee voted to recommend the removal of the Westwoods Golf Course as an option in the scope of services for the conceptual design phase. And this is due to deed restrictions on that property that would require a land swap. It was determined that a land swap would be time-consuming and also cost-prohibitive at this time. Based on all that information that I just provided, the Building Committee states that they have completed Part 1, Section E of the FHS Building Committee charge at this time. If anybody has any questions at this point? No? Okay. The role of the Communications Subcommittee is to coordinate communication efforts across the Farmington High School Building Committee. A website to be used as a central point of information for the Building Committee process and decision updates will be launched at the end of this month. So our goal is to get that website up as soon as possible and provide transparent communication through that website as a central point of communication. So an online communication form is available to provide comments and questions directly to the committee. This is currently found on the town website and will also be accessible on the High School Building Committee website upon launch. The Building Committee members will attend community events, including soccer games, open houses, and a coffee with the committee event over the next few months. And we hope that the community takes advantage of these opportunities to ask questions of us and stay engaged in the process. So we're at Tunxus Mead at a soccer game this weekend. We do have members of our committee at events this week for open houses to give people a way to communicate with us directly. If maybe they don't want to use the form online, but those are always options for them to get a hold of us and ask questions. And we'll continue to do that in the upcoming months as well. So not just through the month of September, but for the remainder of the year as well. So with the assistance of the Professional Partnership Subcommittee, the Building Committee has made the following progress regarding partnership evaluations and selections. For Owners Representative Services, the Building Committee has selected Construction Solutions Group as our owner's representative during the conceptual option phase of the project. We actually have a representative here tonight. Chris is in the back. We are thrilled to have CSG as part of our team and specifically appreciate their experience with the state reimbursement process as we execute against the committee charge. So we've seen a lot of value with bringing on that owner's representative services early in the process so that we're making good, solid decisions as we move forward. Architectural services, the town council charge as written is different from the standard procurement process because it asks for multiple conceptual design options pre-referendum from multiple architects to allow for competitive design. So there was a very specific distinction in the charge that we received. Aligning with one of our guiding principles of procuring critical information prior to milestone decisions, our research determined that including 2 architects in the conceptual design process falls outside of the standard state procurement process. The result is a loss of any partial state reimbursement of the architectural fees associated to only the conceptual phase of the project. So that was something that we wanted to make sure that we brought to the table here as part of our process to make sure that that was fully understood. Taking that information, moving it forward, and again, relying on one of those guiding principles, which is competitive analysis of service and design, we have selected 2 architectural firms at this point to work with during the conceptual options phase. Those 2 architects include TSKP Studio and QA&M Architecture. Once the contract for these firms has been finalized, we'll be working closely with each to design conceptual options that will be evaluated using clearly defined and rated criteria. So this is a big part of our process right now, is having those conversations on how we'll look at those options that come forward during conceptual design and how will we evaluate them. The committee acknowledges that managing 2 architectural firms during the conceptual design phase will provide challenges, and we are committed to structure the process to use time and resources effectively as we move forward. As you're aware, the building committee is looking for an allocation of funds in order to contract with the 2 architectural firms, as you can see on the agenda later. It is my understanding, in working with Kathy, that the town manager has included 2 agenda items and will be reviewing the cost of the architectural services and the allocations of funds later on in the meeting. I don't know if anybody has any questions or thoughts, any points of clarification?
One of the things I'd like to just say is, I mentioned to you earlier, but it's wonderful to see the, your constant information. Your information is always up on the web and on your website. So it's great to be able to be informed when the meetings happen. You're right there to send out an email. So it's great because you can keep up with it, even with people not going to the meetings, for the whole community. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and that's one of our main points of focus is really communication, making sure we're transparent, that we're up to date, that we're timely, that we're thorough. And so we have continual meetings around this with our communication subcommittee, so I appreciate you noticing. And then the other thing I do want to mention that I didn't say in the beginning is that I do want to thank the building committee myself, because the amount of work and effort that has gone into everything that's been done so far, and not only, obviously we have great support from the town, but also the volunteers of community members. We all know what kind of time commitment that takes, and people have been very focused, very engaged, and really supportive of everything we've been doing. So from my heart, I thank them as well, because this is a big task, but I think people feel passionate about it and want to make sure that we're making smart decisions as we move along. So.
Well, and thank you to the town committee, to the building committee. You got a lot of work ahead, but it's wonderful.
That's right.
Oh, CJ. yeah.
I just want to thank you, because you just told us, in addition to all the meetings and everything else you're doing, you're going out to the soccer fields and you're getting out to more events. So thank you for volunteering more of your time on top of what you're already doing.
Yeah, and I think that's where we know where our value can be. We want to be accessible to people, and we want them to be engaged throughout the entire process. That's very important to us, because it's a lot of information to consume, and if you can take that information as we move through the process, it is a little easier to understand why we're making the decisions we're making. So the more engagement from the community, the better from our perspective. So any way that they can reach out to us and have a conversation, ask any question, we're more than happy to. If we don't know the answer right there, we'll get you the answer. Hopefully we've proved that so far with the communication that we've done, and we want to make sure that we continue to do that.
Thank you. Edward.
Thanks again for all of your work, and everybody else on the building committee, and the communication, as Nancy pointed out, has been phenomenal. Just a point of clarification for anybody in the public: as you were talking about the Westwoods option, you voted not to go forward with that. So that means what's left on the table is any location on the current campus of FHS.
Yeah, well, we're considering the municipal site. So at this point, that's how we refer to that, which is the current grounds and surrounding grounds that the building sits on today.
Great, thank you.
Paul.
Just to echo everyone else, working with you has been great so far, and hopefully we can keep this going. I think you're doing a great job so far. I think this is when we wanted to do it based on this morning's meeting, but I think one thing you're looking for from us is consensus on your recommendation to us regarding Westwood. So is this when we want to talk about it, the seven of us?
so, yeah.
Okay. So I think, they made a recommendation to us as a council regarding Westwoods. I guess they're looking for consensus on if we should formalize and remove that as an option. So I don't know if anyone has any feedback on that.
Go ahead, Patty.
My understanding of the land swap process, as it's been explained, is that it's in part due to a change in the legislation over the past few years since the last time Farmington did a land swap, which means we had thought it was a viable option, but now we're realizing it's a cost prohibitive option to move forward because of the restrictions on the property. My understanding is it wouldn't be a swap with current parcel. Farmington would have to buy a new parcel of land. So we'd have the added cost of purchasing new land.
Correct.
Okay, so in that case, I'm in support of removing the Westwoods parcel.
I agree with everything you just said, and to kind of add on to that, I think the time element to it is important too. It would take time to do all that, and that's that could take years. So, just to kind of reiterate everything you said and add more, I agree with where you're coming from.
Other comments? And I
was just going to say, I think that the materials, and again, I'm going to echo everyone. Maggie, you're doing a fabulous job, and the building committee is. I know that you guys worked very hard through the whole summer when a lot of people were on vacation, and you guys just look at all the work that you guys brought forward. And thank you for Patty reminding us about that, because some of that communication came to us, so we're well aware of some of that, but making it known to the public, and so I'm in agreement with the removal of Westwood as well. Thank you.
And I think one of the things that was so important, the pieces that the building committee was supposed to do this time, was to look at all viable pieces of property in town. And you did a thorough job of that. Westwood's was actually one of the last. So I think you certainly did that job, and now we're moving forward in a very positive way, and for good reason, very good reason. So, yep. Okay, so do I have consensus then that we're going to move forward and take Westwood's, we're agreeing to take Westwood's off the table?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, report of the council chair and liaisons. The chair report. I just want to reiterate that tomorrow, September 11th, there is at the community center, the Farmington Community Center, there's a breakfast for the first responders. It's appreciation breakfast, just to let everybody know that. Okay, Board of Education liaison.
Yes, Madam Chair. So the Board of Education met last night, actually, for their first meeting of the new school year. And as they do every year at this meeting, they recognize the Farmington Teacher of the Year, who is Rose Kay. She's a special education at Union School. So there were a lot of great things said about her, and appreciation expressed by the public and those in the room, those that work with her. And then Staff Member of the Year is Katie Merlini. She's a preschool teacher at Union School, so Union School is really yes, highlighted, and yes. So that was a very upbeat start to their meeting. And the report from the superintendent included a piece about school facilities, repairs, and maintenance. And as you all know, summer is a big time for projects at the schools, and that was it was expressed the appreciation to the Board of Ed, the Town Council, and the community for supporting those projects that happened over the summer and will continue throughout the school year as the school year will allow, and then into next summer. So a lot going on there, a lot completed, and a lot will continue. So this year the district welcomed 41 new teachers. It's just a big hiring year, and there will be some budget impact. They were talking about a big proportion of the new hires were in a shortage area, which represents a slight increase in kind of that starting salary. But everything went well with convocation and welcoming the new teachers. They're off to a good start. So those are the highlights from the meeting last night.
Thank you. Chamber.
Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce is in continuing discussions with Bicycle Friendly Farmington to try and get some signage on the trails. The depot in Unionville would be a perfect spot. The signage would be to direct people traveling on our trails throughout Farmington to local spots to stop at, whether it's some place to eat or some place to use a bathroom or just someplace else to stop. So that's an ongoing discussion.
Thank you. EDC.
EDC did not meet in August, but the next scheduled meeting is tomorrow, September 11th at 5:30 p.m. at the Town Hall.
Okay, thank you. Farmington Historic District Commission.
Nothing to report.
Housing Authority.
The Housing Authority's June meeting was canceled. They meet again October 9th at 6:15 at the Staples House. And their holiday meeting will be December 11th. I did get an update from Nancy Parent that the Housing Authority recently got another high performer rating from Housing and Urban Development.
Great. Thank you. Human Relations.
Human Relations, next meeting is September 18th at 5:30 at the Community Center.
Okay. Library Board.
Library Board did not meet in August, however, the next scheduled meeting is September 21st at 1 p.m. at the Farmington Public Library.
Thank you. TPZ.
Yeah, just one item. There was an item that was continued to September 23rd. It's the Old Mill Commons LLC. It was an application for reapproval for special permit. So I know quite a few residents showed up, and I think that day it was asked to be continued to September 23rd.
Okay. Unionville Historic District Commission.
Unionville Historic District Commission met on September 5th. The date of the fall tour has been moved to October 20th from 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's going to be an exhibit at the Unionville Museum, and there's actually going to be a trolley ride to the Cottage Street Historic District. And there's going to be tours of historic homes, as well as food trucks and a carousel.
Sounds great. Thank you. Unionville UVIA.
Nothing to report.
WPCA.
The sewage treatment plant project has been going well. As of the last meeting, they were approaching substantial completion, punch list type stuff. But overall, it's been going well, on time and on budget. And the next meeting is tomorrow at Town Hall at 7 p.m.
Okay. Thank you. Any other liaison reports? Okay. Report of the Town Manager. Kathy.
You have your written report in front of you, but I did leave a couple of things at your places that I just wanted to talk about. I hope everyone got in their mailbox the new Farmington Town Letter. So this was our new communication. We've spruced it up a little bit, and we got some pretty positive reaction about it, so I just wanted to make sure that everyone did see our new town newsletter, and this has been with our new communication person has been helping us do that. So that was one thing I wanted to show you. I also left at your places the Farmington Valley Health District. They are doing the same thing that we are, and as we are a member of the health district, trying to get their communication material kind of up to date, better, that easier to read. And so this is going to go on our webpage, and again, just making things, getting it just more easier, friendlier, and better information that the public is interested in. So this is from the health district. So again, something to put on the website. In the written report, I don't know if you had an opportunity, but again, talking about part of our communication plan is information that we think is valuable to the public. And if you saw Rose's report to me, the Economic Development Progress Report, and this is something that I don't know if you guys are asked about, but I'm asked about it all the time, the different things that are going on in town. And this is just kind of really just a snapshot of all the different, it's not everything, but it's a lot of the different things that are going on. So this is going to go on our Document Central on our webpage, and also maybe I think we decided on the front page. And again, this is something like our roads document, where people are always asking, when is my road going to be done? This is, when is Apricots going to be finished? When is, something like that. So again, I thought that this was something new, and I wanted to show you guys that report. Steve Hoffman let me know that we are making...
Before that, can we ask questions?
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, Kathy, was the Batterson Park update.
Yep.
And just if you could give us a little information on what's happening there. And we know there were a number of articles in the paper lately about Batterson Park, which part of it is the park, but part of it is across the street are the acres that we've been working with the City of Hartford to develop. So if you could give us a little update on,
Right.
that's the piece we're talking about.
Right, and actually, that's a good point. I probably should ask Rose, because this is probably, we like to refer to it as the Batterson Park update, but really it's called the Finneman Road Project
Right.
now. So there's Batterson Park update, which is owned by the City of Hartford, and there's really not an update on the actual park. The City of Hartford is working, and I think there's a new non-for-profit group within the city of Hartford that is looking to see what they can do with the actual park, which is located in our town, but we don't maintain it, and it's owned by the city of Hartford. This is the Finneman Road parcel, which is on the other side, and this is a piece of property that we do own and that we've been working for many years about development of the property. Again, the city of Hartford, we had a joint committee with them. What has happened is that they have contracted out from different companies to look about marketing the property, but have not been able to come up with anything that we've been able to work out together. So this, I think, is their third consultant that they've hired. We're always hopeful that they're going to come a little bit further and come up with a development that they would bring to our TPZ. But we do like the idea that they do have this new consultant, which was the original consultant about 4 or 5 years ago. So that consultant's back again. So again, we should probably, it's a good point, rename this to the Finneman Road project, because it's not the Batterson Park anymore, what people think of the Batterson Park.
Right. And I think that's really important, one piece, because a number of people have come up to me through the years and said, why don't we do something with the park? And it's not ours. It is the city of Hartford's park, the park where the pond is and the lean-tos and all that. That's the city of Hartford's. And we have approached them from time to time, but that's their property, and they want that their property. It's across the street, but as Kathy mentioned, what's also important to understand, that piece we're trying to work with. 2 years ago, I think, you and I were going to the city of Hartford, talking to them, and we really were, I was so uplifted, thought, oh, this is great, we're really on board, we're going to have some development, we're really talking with one another, and then everything just dropped again. But that's not new. There were a few years ago, well, Bill Wadsworth was involved with this, 10 years ago, and CJ was involved with this when he was on the council a number of years ago, and it's kind of the same thing, I think, CJ, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Kathy said 4 or 5, it was actually 6 or 7, because it was my first time on the council. And the Hartford Farmington Joint Committee discussed this particular property. We had meetings here in front of the council at that point. We went to Hartford, to the library, to have meetings in front of the residents of Hartford. And they wanted to do something with that property at that point in time. We mapped the property, found out what was wetlands and what was actually usable property. At the time, they wanted to have a 99-year lease. It wasn't working out, but that's when we first hired CRB at that point in time. And they gave us a great presentation. The biggest issue, and that's why it's very important to point out Finneman Road versus Batterson Park, when we went to Hartford, everyone was standing up saying, you can't take away that park. So I actually went up to the map on the wall and said, this is Finneman Road. We're not crossing Finneman Road. We're on the other side of the road. And that made them more comfortable. Since then, this property's been turned over to the retirement board in Hartford, so it's somewhat different ownership, but they're now back interested in doing something with the property, so hopefully that means we all sit down at a table again and discuss, because it is Farmington owned by Hartford, so there's nothing they can do without coming to Farmington to discuss if there's going to be a zoning change. They've been requesting zoning changes, but until anything's brought forward, there's no reason to do that.
And the thought is that they own the property, that they would sell the property. That would be ideal, that they would sell the property, and then the Farmington would receive the taxes that from that point on the development of the property.
Right. So hopefully the new old group will be productive with us, the new people. Yes, sir.
Unrelated to that, but in similar vein, on the Charles House update title, TPZ is using a different name for the parcel.
What Bruce just mentioned in
Right,
his
so if
report.
we could make it match.
Yep, that's a very good point. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I just want to say before we leave this is wonderful. I mean, this is great information. A lot of people out there asking us all the time, and this is great information to be out there. It's on our website, so it's really nice to see and to have this. And thank Rose for that great report, so.
Madam Chair, along
Yes.
those lines, so if the public wanted to access this, it's on the town website under economic.
This is, it's good. I think Rose is keeping it in economic development, but we're also putting it in our new document central section. And I think, Kat, we're putting it on the. Yep.
Right
on the front page. You'll be able to Great.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you.
For fire equipment, I just wanted to let you know that we did make a donation to Lima, Peru. So you saw that in my written report, so I think that was great that we were able to do that instead of, it would have just been, it would have been thrown away. So it was good that
That's
was able
wonderful.
to go to Peru. I just wanted to give you a quick update that we've been doing our due diligence, looking for grants for our sidewalks, for our master plan for Farmington Village, and also that we are still in the process of Russ Arnold and his engineering department of the design and surveying of the property. So I just wanted to let you know that we have been working on that over the summer. And the last item I just wanted to talk about was the sub-edge farm lease, and I left it in your places. I should have put it in the agenda packet, but I just didn't. I missed it. Is that I put the lease document in, left it on your places, so you guys can take the actual lease document with you. But the lease is currently up, and so it's an opportunity for the council to make any changes in the lease if they would like to. I've given some options of if there was any interest of for a monthly rental fee. So I just gave some things for consideration for the council, and it was my intent to put this back on the October Town Council meeting after getting some consensus or some thought process from you all, if you'd like to see some other changes. In my thought process, I don't see any real need to change any other sections of the lease, but if there is if an appetite to start, have a rental portion of it, that would be something that I could change in the lease document.
Questions? Yes, Paul.
Only one question, and it can be for next time if you're not sure, but Kathy, gross income in the 4 years has gone up substantially, but the net income is pretty flat. Is expenses, do you know, like, does that include like salaries and stuff, or?
That's his whole business expenses, because he's running the business, so it's salaries, it's everything that
Does
goes
that include
along
like
with it.
salaries to the owners themselves?
Yes,
or-
no, I assume so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not to the owners.
They have staff.
Substantially grown their workforce. They have a manager now that
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
they have volunteers, so it's to pay them.
Those are all employees, basically?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you said volunteers, though.
They have a manager, and they have, I don't have the exact number of people.
They definitely have paid staff that are
Yeah.
harvesting, planting, doing a lot of things that Roger and Isabel were doing themselves before. And they also this year just hired a full-time animal manager for their cows, sheep, chickens, ducks, things like that. So those are
Okay.
part of that expense account.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? Okay, I do. I have a question of what is the town, I know the town takes care of the property, and with the maintenance and insurance or, and labor, for instance, we plow the property, we take care of the barn, and what kinds of funds are involved in that is something I'd like, and you might have to come back to us with that, but I'd just like to know how that offsets, because the labor is something too, and as I say, if something's wrong with the door, if they fix the door or whatever, or the roof, or...
Over the previous year, that there was quite a bit of different things that were going on with town staff, because our in-kind services for our grants, we were using town staff to do some of that. I have to get over the last year or so, because we haven't had that, but according to the lease, any expenditure over $5,000 is the responsibility of the town. And as a rental unit in the house, there's responsibilities like they rent from us, and so it would be like a standard leasing agreement that we have. But there are other things that we do that would, it would, like you said, snowplow the front. There's things like that. I can get a list of some of that if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
And Madam
Bruce?
Chair, I just have, do we know, Kathy, if there's other communities around that have a situation like this that we are aware of?
There are, I could know that there are other farms that are owned by towns. I don't know them off the top of my head. I don't know what happened with Simsbury, Erica, right?
I don't know, Simsbury has a town farm. Granby has a farm, I believe, way up. I think part of I don't want to say the wrong name, so I'm not gonna, but I believe there's some town-owned land up there that a farmer uses. Simsbury does have land out by the airport, I believe.
Because this particular farm it's a house and a barn in the property.
Right.
So I think that's what I was kind of looking for. What other communities have that type of arrangement? Because I would like to see, you know, what they're doing, if they have something similar.
Yeah, I can try to find out, yep.
Other questions?
All right, so so my thought is that you won't see the lease document next month because it won't be ready, so I'll bring just some more information at the next meeting.
Okay, great.
All right, and I think that was it for my manager's report.
Okay, could I have a motion to accept the manager's report?
I move to accept the town manager's report.
Second?
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Next on the agenda are appointments.
Okay, bear with me, guys. There's 22 of them. Agenda item L3, I move that Jay Tulin be appointed to the Conservation and Inland Wetland Commission for a balance of a 4-year term beginning immediately and ending September 30th of 2021.
Second?
Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L5, I move that David Fox be appointed to the Conservation and Inland and Wetland Commission for a 4-year term beginning September 30th, 2019 and ending September 30th of 2023.
Second?
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L6, I move that Emily Brick be appointed to the Conservation and Inland Wetland Commission as an alternate for a 4-year term beginning September 30th, 2019 and ending September 30th of 2023.
Second?
Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L7, I move that Rob Phillips be appointed to the Economic Development Commission for a 2-year term beginning September 30th and ending September 30th of 2021.
Second?
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L8, I move that Dan Kleiman be appointed to the Economic Development Commission for a 2-year term beginning September 30th of 2019 and ending September 30th of 2021.
Second?
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Agenda
item L11, I move that Maureen Messier be appointed to the Green Effort Committee for an indefinite term beginning immediately.
Second?
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L12, I move that John Bombaro be appointed to the Farmington Historic Commission for a 5-year term beginning September 30th, 2019 and ending September 30th of 2024.
Second?
Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L13, I move that James Calciano be appointed to the Farmington Historic Commission for a 5-year term beginning September 30th of 2019 and ending September 30th of 2024.
Second?
Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L14, I move that Elizabeth Gemsky be appointed to the Farmington Historic Commission as an alternate member for 5 years term beginning September 30th of 2019 and ending September 30th of 2024.
Second?
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L15, I move that John Renahan be appointed to the Farmington Historic Commission as an alternate member for 5-year term beginning September 30th of 2019, ending September 30th of 2024.
Second?
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I move that Lisa Johnson be appointed to the Town Historian beginning immediately for an indefinite term.
Second?
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L18, I move that Justin Pagano be appointed to the Housing Authority for 5-year term beginning September 30th of 2019 and ending September 30th of 2024.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L19, I move that Kathy Higgins be appointed to the Human Relation Commission for a balance of 2-year term beginning immediately and ending June 30th of 2021.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L20, I move that Donna Manbrino be appointed to the Human Relation Commission for a balance of 2-year term beginning immediately and ending June 30th of 2021.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L21, I move that Christine Shaw be appointed to the Justice of Peace for a balance of a 4-year term beginning immediately and ending January 4th of 2021.
Second.
Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L22, I move that Rebecca Poluno, if I say that right, sorry, be appointed to the North Central Regional Mental Health Board for Inc. for a 2-year term beginning September 30th of 2019, ending September 30th of 2021.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L23, I move that Harry Marsh be appointed to the North Central Regional Mental Health Board, Inc. for a 2-year term beginning September 30th, 2019 and ending September 30th of 2021.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions?
I move that Mary Jane Parlow be appointed to the Plainville Area Cable TV Advisory Council for the balance of 2-year term beginning immediately and ending June 30th of 2021.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Agenda item L28, I move that Phillips Cordero be appointed to the Water Pollution Control Authority for a 5-year term beginning September 30th of 2019, ending September 30th of 2024.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I move, agenda item L29, I move that Kevin Ray be appointed to the Water Pollution Control for a balance of 5-year term beginning September 30th, 2019 and ending September 30th of 2022.
Second.
It says 5-year term.
5-year
Should
term.
be 24, just to say.
the balance of
Oh,
The
I'm
ba-
sorry.
yeah, the
I'm sorry.
balance.
Right.
Did I not say balance?
No, you-
Oh, okay.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Okay. 2 more.
Oh,
We added 2
Yes,
more. Okay. Agenda item L30, I move that Lawrence Schlego be appointed to the representative of the Lower Farmington River and Salmon Brook Wild Scenic Management Plan, LFSWS, beginning immediately for indefinite term.
Second.
any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
One more, guys. Agenda item L31. I move that Walter Sargent be appointed to the as an alternate member of the Lower Farmington River and Salmon Brook Wild and Scenic Management Plan, beginning immediately for an indefinite term.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we're done with appointments for tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Old business. New business, N1.
I move that $199,000 be appointed from the general fund balance to the Farmington High School Planning and Design account in the Capital Project Fund for expenses related to the work of the Farmington High School Building Committee.
Second.
Kathy?
So as you know, the committee has shortlisted 2 architects, and this should be at your places, so you have that too if you can't see it. The committee has shortlisted 2 architects, QA&M and TSKP Studio. The cost of this phase is $47,000 from QA&M and $120,000 from TSKP Studio, totaling $167,000. So you can see on the chart here, Phase 1 conceptual design, $47,120 for a Phase 1 total of $167,000. As Meg spoke earlier, after initial analysis, the Westwoods Golf Course was identified as a potential site. The building committee is recommending the removal of this option due to the deed restriction on the property, which would require a land swap. Just for your information, as Patty had mentioned earlier, but I had met with the DEP last week, and in summary, the old land swap regulations have changed. The town can, excuse me, the town can no longer swap land with existing land that we own. The town would have to buy land to swap at equal size and value. The DEP also informed us that due to the fact that we would have to apply through a federal program in addition to the state program, it would be very complex and time-consuming, approximately 18 to 24 months at a minimum once the applications are submitted with no guarantee that it would be approved. I'm glad that the council has said that they were taking that off the table because I would agree with the committee's recommendation on that. So the town needs $167,000 to bring us to Phase 2, which is schematic design. It is anticipated that the competitive phase, Phase 1, will be complete in late January, early February, and that the building committee will be presenting Phase 1 conceptual designs and prices to the town council at that time. In late January, early February, it is anticipated that an architect and an option will be selected, and they will take us through schematic design and to the referendum. The cost of this phase is anywhere between $70,000 and $550,000, depending on which architect and option is selected. So if you look on your chart, for example, and now we're on Phase 2, if we happen to pick QA&M architect option 2, we had already paid $47,000, and Phase 2 in the next column is $485,000, so we'd owe another $485,000. If we went for TSKP Studio and we went with option 3, new existing site, we've already paid the $120,000, but if you look on option 3, you'd pay $130,000. So you can see from the chart on the Phase 2 column schematic design, on the low end it's $70,000, on the high end is $550,000 of what the potential. This brings us to the motions on the table. I'm recommending that the town council appropriate and transfer a total of $455,000 into the Farmington High School Building Committee account between this motion and the next motion. The building committee currently has $144,829 on hand. With this appropriation and transfer, the building committee will have $599,829 on hand. Phase 1 expenses total $167,000, bringing the account to $432,829. If TSKPS's most expensive option is selected, $130,000, the building committee will have $302,829 in hand. If QA&M's most expensive option is selected, $550,000, the building committee will be short $117,170. It should be noted that the building committee will be spending some of those dollars for items other than architectural fees, i.e. marketing materials and other miscellaneous fees as we go on. The first motion that you just read is to appropriate $199,000 from the general fund balance to the Farmington High School Building Committee. And the second motion is to transfer $256,000 from the teachers' retirement contribution account in the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. These funds were included in the budget when it appeared that the town may have been required to make a contribution to the state's teachers' retirement fund. The final adopted state budget did not include this requirement, therefore these funds are available to use for another purpose. The town council cannot appropriate more than $199,999 without a town meeting. The town council can transfer money once it's been appropriated. The teacher's pension has already been appropriated. The town council cannot increase the total municipal expenditure budget more than $200,000 per purpose without going to a town meeting. For example, this year's adopted budget is $111,344,077. With this new appropriation of $199,000, we are increasing the total municipal budget of $111,543,077, obviously adding $199,000 to the total budget, which is permissible by town charter. The second motion is transferring $256,000 into the building committee account. This is not a new appropriation, nor does it increase the total municipal budget. The municipal budget at the end is still the same. It's $111,344,077. Transfers are not uncommon. In fact, we are transferring money again tonight. Action item N9 request transfers totaling $493,424 from one account to another. So we are doing two things. We're the two motions. We're appropriating money, I'm recommending, and we're transferring money. Appropriations, you can't make appropriations without a town meeting until $199,999. And you can transfer money inside accounts. And because the teacher's pension account was already allocated and it was an appropriation in the budget, we're not increasing the total municipal budget, so you can transfer funds, just like we're going to be transferring funds later on in different accounts to balance the budget. So with this appropriation and transfer, it's my recommendation that we do this, and this will enable the building committee to complete its charge.
Questions? Go ahead, Pat.
My understanding from Meg's presentation earlier is that the phase one, if we hire the two architects, this phase one conceptual design, so the $167,000 is not reimbursable under the current state grant scheme because it would be two architects.
And that would be, I think my understanding is 20%?
It depends on what was chosen. Our reimbursement rate is different for renovation and new building.
It'd be somewhere between 20 and 30.
20 and 30%.
Okay.
I mean,
of
depending
that
on
total.
ineligibles and a number of variables.
But the phase two schematic design, at that point, we've chosen an architect, and is at that point, are they reimbursable?
Yes.
Okay. So effectively, we are, to address Meg's comment about the reimbursement, effectively, we could be spending about some percentage more by hiring the two architects, but overall, we could end up with a better product or better options.
That we feel that the building committee feels that there's value in doing that, and that will have value by having the competitive process, and that the $167,000 between 20 or 30%, even though it is money, it's somewhere I think between 30, about $30,000 and $40,000 that we are not getting reimbursed. So
Okay.
that's approximately the dollar amount.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Yes, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, Kathy, would you surmise that the significant difference in cost and the different options between the two architects in phase two is primarily because in the design development phase, like for example, the QA and M architecture is significantly less in the design and development phase, and then the fee total is kind of the same? It's just kind of their business approach to how they do the
That's what I would say, is that
Okay.
because if you look kind of at the end product of the
Yep.
fee total, they're all about the same. It's just where they're getting their money on what phase of it. So it looks like, according to this, it looks like TK is getting it at the second phase, where Q&M is getting it, on the first, they're getting their money in the first phase, where Q&A is getting it in the second phase. It's more expensive at the second phase for the
Gotcha.
total.
Yep. Makes sense. Thanks.
Other questions? Go
Just
ahead,
to
CJ.
comment,
This council went forward with the process. We created the charge. These are the costs involved in the charge that we unanimously decided upon. The means for funding it are through the 256 of the transfer, which fortunately we did not need for teachers' pension, so we're certainly not taking away from teachers' pension. This is what we don't have to pay. And the 199 new appropriation, which is well within the range of what we're legally allowed to do throughout the year. So I think all we're doing here is creating the funds to follow through on the charge we created.
Other questions?
Yep.
At what point I just have a question, and Meg or Kathy, you said phase 2 is the one architect. That's when they choose one.
So right now, they're going to be doing the competition and the design for the conceptual, and then it's anticipated at the end of January, February, the building committee will be coming back and going over those options and telling the council what architect and what the prices are and the different things. And then at that point, the council's going to recharge the building committee at the end of January, end of February with a budget and an option, and that would be
And the second phase.
And the second phase.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Question? Yes.
In terms of the transfer being appropriated from the general fund, are we running a surplus this year?
Yes, and on agenda item N9, we're going to talk about it, and we are actually returning quite a bit of money into the general fund this year.
Significantly more than $199,000?
Yes.
CJ?
Yep. Madam Chair, I just want to make a comment. I think this document definitely makes sense. I think it explains the process of what we're trying to do. We set this charge as a council. We know that we were going into the competitive design, so we knew that there was some element of it costing a little bit more. I think Patty had said it, but to get a better product and design, that we're willing to kind of move this forward. And just knowing that we put this document together and making it as transparent as possible for the community to understand, I think it's appropriate of what we're planning on doing.
Other comments? Okay. I would certainly agree that we should move these forward, both of these forward, and Kathy's explained to us why we can and that we can, and I think it's up to us to do that, to move this process forward. And I want to thank Paul. You kind of led us through this competitive bid business again and again when we ask questions, ad nauseum, and we appreciate that, doing that for us during this process. And then we came together unanimously to move this forward in that direction. So with that, I'll ask for if there aren't any other comments, for a vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, and now we have
This one, right?
N2.
I move that $256,000 be transferred from the teacher's retirement contribution account in the fiscal year of 2019-2020 adopted budget to the Farmington High School Planning and Design account in the Capital Project Fund for expense related to the work of the Farmington High School Building Committee.
Second.
Any questions here? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Meg, for being here tonight. Yep. N3.
Okay, I move to change the date of the April 21st, 2020 Town Council meeting to April 28th, 2020 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers.
Second.
Any questions?
This was just an oversight. We put the wrong date on the list.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, N4.
I move to approve the acquisition of the property owned by the estate of Joseph A. and Stella W. Mitchell located at 9485 Mountain Road for no consideration in exchange for taxes due, estimated to be approximately $3,955 as of September of 2019.
Second.
The TPZ completed their report. We had the public hearing on this at the last meeting. I don't know if you had any additional questions.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. N5.
I move to accept the donation of $10,000 from the Iron Bank and Iron Bank Foundation for the purpose of purchasing Rescue Task Force ballistic vests for the town of Farmington Fire Department.
Second.
This is a very generous donation from Iron Bank, and these vests will be used for our firefighters and EMTs, and it's, I think it's appropriate, especially when it's first responder tomorrow, and we're having the event, so.
Yes, thank you. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. N6.
I move that the following banks and investment pools be designated as depositories for the town funds.
Second.
As you know, that we usually list our banks where we are allowed to deposit our money at the beginning of January, but there's been some changes in the banking and some different banks in town, so we just listed the ones in bold or the new ones that we're adding.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. N7.
I move to award the contract for the purchase and installation of one SH flatbed body and Tarco spreader to Equipment Service of Hartford, Connecticut at a purchase price of $85,842.
Second.
This motion is to purchase a flatbed dump body and spreader, and the town council previously awarded the contract for the truck cab, if you remember, in July, and this was in our capital budget.
Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. N8. Yes.
Yep. I move to abate the taxes due on October 1st, 2018 grand list for the property known as 119 Copper Mine Road.
Second.
This property was acquired by the Farmington Land Trust as open space in 2013, and at that time, most of the property was determined to be exempt from property taxation since the Farmington Land Trust is a 501c3 status. However, a portion of the property was still subject to the property taxation because the former owner had life use of it, and although it was owned by the Farmington Land Trust, it was not under their control. The former owner passed away in April of 2019, therefore the life use provision has ended and the property is reverted back to the Farmington Land Trust control. In accordance with the assessment practices, the tax status is deemed as the grand list date, which is October 1st, 2018. Since the property was in life use status on October 1st, 2018, it was subject to a taxation. For the current period, fiscal year 1920, the Farmington Land Trust has requested the property tax due for 1920 be abated since the property is now under their control again. The town has approved similar requests of this in the past.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. N9.
I move that the following appropriation transfers to be made from and to accounts listed below in the fiscal year 2018-2019 general fund budget.
Second.
As you can see on agenda N9 that we have from various departments, and then we're transferring those money into other accounts. If you remember how we do the budget, is that when contracts aren't settled, we have a lump sum in the personnel services, and then when the accounts are when the union contracts are settled, it goes into the separate accounts. So much of these transfers on the bottom part are personnel accounts to pay for the salaries. In summary, I think it's good to note that on the last page, in summary of fiscal year 18-19, the general fund revenue exceeded budgeted amounts by $1,338,077, and the expenditures were less than budgeted by the amount of $336,498, resulting in a positive result of operations totaling $1,674,575. When this amount is added to the fund balance, it increases the general fund balance to $15,303,565, 25, which is 13.74% of the operating budget. One thing, I think we had a really a great year on the expenditures and on the revenue, but if you remember that the last 2 years, our revenues, we were so uncertain what we were getting from the state, we really weren't budgeting, and we luckily and thankfully, we received a lot of the state funding that we did not think we were going to get. This is the last year of that. If you remember this fiscal year, we actually put in what we thought that the state was going to get. So I think that even though the last couple of years we've had on the revenue side tremendous amounts of money back, I don't think that's going to be the norm because we're actually funding what we think, we've bumped our numbers, our expectations up. So other than that, Joe does a really great list and just shows what's transferring in and what's transferring out. I think though in general, we had a really very good year with our budget.
Questions?
There's just one number on here that concerns me. I'm trying to find out what EMS services are going to do with that extra dollar we just gave them.
Joey's very detailed.
I know that.
Okay. I have one question, and that's under the charges and fees. I just wondered what radio tower we don't get the funds from anymore. It was 31. I know there's one behind the farm, there's the one in Unionville Center, the one by the police station.
We have the one at the police station, the one at the wastewater treatment plant. We have one that we don't have. We just have actually one of the cell phone carriers is renting. Leon hasn't built the tower yet.
We're building it now.
We're building it now.
Yeah.
We also have the one at the farm, which is shared by 2 carriers. What's happening, is you're going to see more of this over the next few years, is with all the mergers taking place. Right now we have like Sprint on some of our, AT&T on some of them, Verizon. And when they start sharing equipment, they don't need to have 2 spaces on the towers anymore. So you're going to start to see some of these cell phone carriers pull back on their leases or terminate their leases. The one that ended last year was at the police station. There was actually 2 AT&T carriers on there. So for some reason they bought somebody. We had somebody on there, I think it was some small company on there. AT&T bought them and kept the lease going for about 5 years, and then when it came up for renewal, they decided not to renew it because they basically had paying us double for one tower. So they ended it. You'll probably see more of that over the next couple of years. There's a lot of consolidation taking place, and there's a lot of renegotiation taking place. We're getting every day. They hit us up saying, "Hey, we don't want to pay you this anymore. Let's renegotiate." So we're just going through this whole cleanup, if you will. So we've probably maxed out our revenue sources in that area.
Well, that's what my question, I guess, really was when I read it. I said, uh-oh, is this something that's a trend that we should be aware of? Because we really, even though it doesn't appear, it's not like it's a huge part of our budget, we specifically target that money, like the farm, the cell tower that's right there, that money, the $25,000, went to the farm. So we've really been able to use that money in great ways. And when I saw that, I said, I wonder where we're going with that. So
we'll see more of this over the next few years. These leases generally go for 5 years at a time. They renew at the end of 5 years, or they have the option to renew at the end of 5 years. And you'll probably see as these 5-year leases come up to their 5th year, more of them will either walk away or offer a much lower rent. We have an offer on the table now from one leasing company. They want a 10% reduction in their rent. Otherwise, they said they're going to leave. So, we're negotiating.
do you have any idea, Joe, what that means for the areas that don't have good service, like West District? It's terrible there, the service. And if you go up in the Highlands, sometimes you can go in and out. But any idea of how we can, if it'll be less, or if we can remedy that somehow?
Technology is changing so much, and the need for towers is changing so much. It's really hard to say. And even where they put towers.
Yeah, and we don't have anything to do with that.
Right. And my wife works for a church, and there's a tower next door, and a cell phone company came in and said, you have an empty parking lot, we'd like to put a tower up in your, I mean, they'd be within 100 feet of each other. So it doesn't make any sense, but they want to put a tower there. So I don't know what the thinking is. I'm not, I don't have the technical expertise to know what they're doing, but we know that it's changing. It changes rapidly. And there's a lot of third-party companies that also are doing this. We get approached quite often from third-party companies saying, let us put a tower up somewhere, and and then we'll rent it out and we'll give you part of the proceeds. So there's a lot of, it's a competitive field right now.
That's interesting. We would hope that common sense would prevail when you're putting two up next to each other. But thank you very much. I appreciate your help. Okay, that's all. I just have a question. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And I want to say thank you very much on behalf of the town for all the work with the budgets. I mean, even though we finish our budget in June, it's, as we see, it continues, and here we are in September, transferring funds and with your recommendation. So thank you very much for all that you do with this budget continually. N10.
I move to ratify the tentative collective bargaining agreement between the Town of Farmington and International Association of Firefighters Local Number 3103 for the period of July 1st of 2018 through June 30th of 2021.
Second.
Kathy.
It took us a while, but we were able to come up with an agreement with our firefighters. As you know, this is a very small unit. It's nine members, but very important members. They supplement our volunteers. So I listed some of the various changes in the contract, and just to note that the wage adjustments were 2.5%, 2%, and 2%, and there was some other slight increase in uniform allowance, increases in co-pays and for insurance. We also, per the council's direction, we've offered the volunteer HDHP for July 1st. This plan was offered to all town employees with the objective of moving employees to the PPO plan. Several members of this unit, 4 of the 9 of the IAF, joined the new voluntary plan.
Any questions for Kathy? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And 11.
I move to approve the following property tax refund totaling $24,627.26.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Okay.
Executive session?
Yes. I move to executive session to discuss matters concerning a sale or acquisition of real estate property. Members in attendance to this executive session are limited to members of the town council and town manager.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.